changes that I think we'll want to make, and I think if he works with us to make those changes, it's something we could get done, but it's going to take a lot of cooperation, and I'm all for it.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Really won't have that great of an impact.
Would you rather see that money go elsewhere? It's around 122 million every year.
Yeah, let's invest in people's training so that they have good middle class jobs. That's what the issue is here. We're not going to fix the fact that there's hardly a middle class in the state of Wisconsin by throwing a couple $100 at them. We need to make sure that they have adequate preparation. They're in that we have better paying jobs and frankly better health care for them. It's a minimal amount, a minimal effort, high profile, good election stuff, but not good for middle class families.
Thank you.
You bet.
Appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks. Hi.
Did you see the Republican side for the primary over there? Waves. It's not going to be, the Dems are not going to win with a lot of cash. They're going to win with a lot of votes and volunteers. That's always been my focus. I definitely would look at this as the way the horses are getting out of the gate. There's kind of two ways to look at fundraising. One is to have a candidate that can raise a lot of money and have a message by a consultant. Another one is to have a great message and a great candidate, get the candidate out there, and then raise money on it.
Is there anyone at this point who you've seen who you think should get out of the race who's not going to really stand much of a chance?
It's a democracy. Everybody needs to be in the race. And actually, I think the primary is awesome for Democrats. All across the state, people are getting exposed to Democratic ideas, and by damn now, the governor's taking them up. So hallelujah. We're going to have an awesome year in 2018.
Thanks very much. We'll see you on Sunday.
Senator.
Yes.
Molly Sense, WRT. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good, good. What was your thoughts to
I'm making a list of all of the Democratic ideas that the governor stole. So kudos to the governor for finally taking up some ideas that the Democrats have been talking about for 8 years. And we've got some ideas that we have some common ground on, and let's get some of this stuff done. But he's had 8 years to do it.
Were you surprised that this was pretty different than his past speeches in past years?
Well, I think he's probably seeing the same polling that I'm seeing, which that are the people are a little tired of the direction the state's been going in, and they're looking for a change. We certainly saw that in the 10th Senate District in western Wisconsin, and I think the governor's worried, and he's finally paying attention to things, fixing things that he broke over the last few years. So
what excites you about this speech?
Finally, he's talking about health care. There's a lot that needs to be done on health care. I have a bill that's been sitting in committee for 8 years to create our own Wisconsin-based marketplace. He's talking about how to fix our health care in Wisconsin, how to lower premiums. This is something Minnesota did in 2010. It's a bill that I drafted back in 2010, reintroduced for 4 times. It hasn't even had a hearing. The answers to fixing the rising costs of healthcare are there. We already know them because other states have taken them up. It's time Wisconsin got with the program.
Do you think he will take federal Medicaid money?
Well, it didn't sound like he was going to, but we will certainly keep pushing. This was something we voted on in the budget. It's something that all the Democrats seem to be united on. It's definitely something that we need to be doing. If we want to deal with the problem of addiction and mental health, this is one way to free up $286 million that we can put into services, community-based services for addiction and mental health, something that Wisconsin has not done and Minnesota did years and years ago, which is partly why Minnesota has half of the prison population we have. We want to solve the problems, the answers are there.
What do you think about his whole high-speed broadband proposal?
Well, what he doesn't tell you is some of that money that he's touting is not state money, it's federal money. There's a very small amount of state money that he's put into broadband expansion. I have a bill right now that's we'll release in a couple of weeks that puts $100 million in broadband expansion. That's just the beginning. we need to do an awful lot. The money that he's talking about wouldn't even build out my county, which is 13,000. God bless him, counting the dogs and the cats. So there needs to be a much greater expansion in broadband. It's a huge problem. It's pitting neighbor against neighbor. It's a solvable problem. There's so many loopholes in the way the state law is written now. We need to get serious about broadband.
What about that family farm fund that he?
Oh, that's another time.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I'll bring it back.
5 seconds.
Originally had suggested this wouldn't start until 2019. I don't want to wait for another election to come around before acting on an issue so serious, which is why we need to do something now. The governor should make sure we get a public hearing on that bill to address Lincoln Hills as soon as possible, and I would hope he could commit to that so legislators from both parties can work on this.
Sure, then the healthcare stability plan you had touched on a little bit. You said
Yeah.
it's kind of based on some past Democratic ideas.
Sure. Yeah, so Democrats put forward a bill in the Assembly which would prohibit discrimination of coverage from anyone that has a pre-existing condition or a disability. And what Republicans did on the Assembly floor is they amended it to allow insurers to charge those people with pre-existing conditions more. Now you can have a pre-existing condition if you have an allergy, asthma, or a more serious condition like a chronic pain condition or cancer. I don't think that we should be making federal law worse. Right now, everyone's protected under the Affordable Care Act with the pre-existing condition clause, and while the governor bashed the Affordable Care Act, he said he cared about pre-existing conditions, but his plan would make it worse. So I call on him to advance the original Democratic bill, which wouldn't allow for that surcharge. We need to be fair about this, and this is already what federal law does.
So it sounds like you're kind of saying he's taking a more moderate approach
Yeah.
as an election year.
Yeah,
moves out.
well, I think it's the 2018 election coming up, and I think he saw, there's national momentum right now. We're seeing from Oklahoma to Alabama, things are changing. People are really interested in progressive ideas. They want new ideas. They care about policies that support working families, and I think the governor is starting to realize that over the past 7 years, he's gotten a lot of criticism, and that criticism stems from the cuts that he's made on our public schools, our universities, his failure to fund our roads, and he's trying to address it now with really quick Band-Aid solutions, but the problem is this has been going on for 7 years, and I don't think we can fix it overnight. I want to fix it though, and so that's why I'm here. I want to clean up the mess. I think the governor's finally addressing that he made a mess, but he's waiting until election year to even look at it.
Anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, before I came down here today, I asked people what they thought about the state of the state and asked them to tell me what they think from their perspective. How are things going for their family? What can state government do better? One of the big things I heard from people on wasn't just about how they think state government should run, but how maybe they should get out of the way. They feel like state government is, destroying our natural resources, whether it's clean air or water. They're very concerned about some of the bills going through the legislature with regard to air and water quality. So that was one big thing I heard that the governor didn't mention today. The other thing that I heard from a lot of people on was their kids are looking at moving to other states. Now, Wisconsin in 2017 ranked in the top 10 for states most moved from. I want to do better because I love Wisconsin. I plan on living here my whole life. I love the Badgers and the Packers. I think we all love this state. But the problem is more people are leaving than are coming in. So what can we do to keep our people here? And I asked these people, what could we do? They said fund our schools, fund our universities, fund our roads, advance a student loan debt relief plan. Those are all things that I think we should address.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.